Fairfield Mystery Box brought to you by Last Rouse Baseball Cards. Started off with Mitch Garver. And that looks like a parallel card to him with the Texas Rangers. There's Mookie Betts, Mookie of the Dodgers, of course. We follow that up with Phil Niekro. That's Niekro. They list him with Atlanta. It looks like he was maybe in his Blue Jay days. And then we get into the flipped around stuff, but we look at the 2 packs of cards that we got on the back end. We got the Baseball Leaders 7-picture cards. We'll open those at the very end. There's Jake Sawinski, not very good with our camera here today. As I said, we don't have our regular setup. And then you've got yourself Chad Pinder. And we got a bunch more of these cards. We're going to see if I can flip them around because this is going to drive us insane. Hey, there you go. There's some 2024 cards already. Elias Diaz, of course, he's no longer a Rocky. Tommy Kahnle's no longer a Yankee. Jose Abreu, no longer a big leaguer. Who else do we have here? We got a parallel there of Brad Ziegler. That's interesting. I remember those parallels back in the day. There's Jonathan India. That's his card with the Cincinnati Reds. Of course, he's no longer a Red, so a bunch of guys no longer somewhere. There's Larry Sheets of the Baltimore Orioles. Bert Blyleven of the Twins. Tony La Russa, Hall of Famer with the Athletics. There is Rags, Dave Righetti, as I continue to move our setup around a little bit here. There is Rags. You got Eddie Murray, he's a Hall of Famer. You got the White Sox leaders. It looks like Carlton Fisk over there. Of course, he's a Hall of Famer. Ray Schalk, the catcher for the Chicago White Sox. I wonder what set that's from. On the back side, you've got a Charlie O'Brien. Well, certainly Charlie O'Brien there. But back to the Ray Schalk card. That is Renata Galazzo Inc. Hobby card. Not sure what that's all about. But that's kind of cool. A little different. Danny Gladden of the Giants. There's Tim Rock Raines, another Hall of Famer. So the Hall of Famers are abound in this. And then you've got Scott Sanderson of the Expos. Les Expos. And who do we have next? Well, there is Moose Haas. I remember Moose had a pretty decent career. Gary Wayne of the Twins. David West, he checks in. He is over there as well, a Minnesota Twin. Got to flip it around continuously. Ken Oberkfell of the Braves. And who's that? Gerald Clark. That's a Padre. And some more cards that are flipped around. I wish they wouldn't do that. I wish they would just sort of keep them all one side up. It makes it a little easier to look at, sort through. There is Greg Vaughn. He was a big man back in the day. Another Hall of Famer in Jack Morris. There's David West of the Minnesota Twins. And West is still on the back. Is that another Dana Kicker? We already had Dana Kicker earlier. There's a Dunrust card. Again, flipped around. So what do we have in this? We got a couple flipped around. Oh, that's another Hall of Famer. And a Canadian-born one, too. There's Chad Kruder. And there's your Hall of Famer and Fergie Jenkins, although I got to say it's a little bit roughed up over here. So Ferguson Jenkins and their Chatham, Ontario great. Mike Stanton. There's Tim Leary. Who else do we have after Tim Leary? There's Terry Kennedy. We got to flip it upside down over here, and you got bunch more stuff. There's Greg Gross of the Phillies, Bob Melvin of the Detroit Tigers. Of course, he's the manager of the San Francisco Giants these days. Kevin Gross of the Expos, Howard Johnson of the Mets. There's a Blue Jay and Tom Henke, the Terminator, Tom Henke. Who else do we have here? We've got Scott Livingston. He was a former Tiger, former lot of things. There's Nate Jones of the White Sox. And who else do we have here? We got Willie Blair of the Blue Jays, another Blue Jay card. Blue Jays and Expos abound in this one. Milt Hill of the Reds and Francisco Olivares of the Giants. Well, let's see what we got in these little ones. These are these little, sweet-looking little cards. Got Glenn Davis on the back of the Astros. Oh, the 87 variety. So we got Kurt Gibson. There's Gibby. There's Dennis Rasmussen. Mariano Duncan. Spring Fever Baseball. Win a trip for 4 to spring training. I think that one's probably expired. I'm going to put that one aside. There's a Hall of Famer in Cal Ripken. So the Hall of Famers are abound. There's Danny Cox, the Terminator again in Tom Henke, and Glenn Davis. Oh, that's kind of neat. That was a bit of a surprise. I haven't seen these in the Fairfield before, so we're glad that it could be a little bit different. And what do we have in the last one? There's the Straw Man. He was just caught up to recently by Pete Alonso. There's Steve Sachs. This card does not have a yip. There's King Kong Kingman, Dave Kingman. He would fit in today's game pretty good, batting about 210 and slugging a pile of home runs. Flip it over. There is Bert Blyleven, the Flying Dutchman. There's Jose Canseco of the Oakland Athletics. Mike Schmidt, and there's Blyleven again. So good on tops. Their collation holds steady in this one. Well, what do you think, everybody? Was that worth it? I don't know, $5, $6, whatever it was. Have a great day, everybody. We're going to do it again. We got another one to break. So Last Rouse baseball cards, check them out.